you finished?
No, I can wait for you.
Okay, I have two questions. One of them is, are you, now that you are mayor, are you on the sanitation district, one of three? Are you there now? And second question is, yesterday I was at Costco, and there is this humongous pile of gravel, and it is so tall that it is a mountain. I'm wondering, is that going to stay there? What is going on there?
Is it on their parking lot, or?
No, it's adjacent to their property, and it looks.
Oh,
and
okay.
it is huge.
So it's actually probably behind Costco where they have the Caltrans. Okay. By the way, it's good to see you, Ms. Dunn. I haven't seen you for a while. How are you? Good. The mayor always, by law, has to serve on the sanitation district. There's one other delegate, which is Lorraine West, and there's an alternate, Marcia McLean. When there are issues where it's necessary, or when there's something on the agenda where I'm told it's specific where I should be there, I go. I'm going to be quite honest. It's down in Whittier, and I would say 95% of the time you go down, and it's about a minute and a half of your time to vote yes to flushing your toilet, which we all want our toilets to flush, and we don't want them to be backed up. So for me, when there's not big issues on the agenda, Lorena and Marcia almost go all the time. Because for me, taking away from my school to literally drive almost 3 hours for a minute and a half, I'm not able to justify that. So it's okay for someone else to go. The sanitation issue is huge right now because regional water has imposed upon us of the chloride levels that they wanted to do a massive, hundreds of millions of dollars fix on the chloride we put back into the river based on avocado and florists and other agriculture downstream past Fillmore towards the ocean in Ventura. The problem, there's a couple things that bothers me on this issue from day one. One, I feel like we were sold a bill of goods that if everybody got rid of their water softeners, voila, things would be better. And so we really bought into that. I think as a city, a community, we went out and we really worked at getting people to give the water softeners. Well, at the end of the day, when we did all this, it didn't seem like it had the impact that was sold to us, in my opinion. The second issue, which really bothers me, is the state water agency, we buy water from Castaic Lake from the Delta Project. And the requirement, the levels of chloride, which the state allows in the water we buy, is higher than the chloride that we're allowed to put back in the river. And I'm sitting there, that doesn't even make sense. So I've talked to Senator Runner, I've talked to Cameron Smythe, and I said, at least make it so your state agencies have similar rules or policies. Now, the issue right now is being on that sanitation district, they are going to force a project, and unless we can get either other directors on or other people, you're going to have some compliance. You're definitely going to have compliance on the chloride levels that go back in the Santa Clara River. We're trying to stall and force that compliance to be a far less impact on our residents. And so that's the process we're in right now. I mean, as a council, we always look, okay, what are our options with litigation? What are our options? And the reality is, just like residents come to us and say, Mayor Ferry, we want you to make the classroom teacher a better teacher at one of the local schools. I have no jurisdiction per se when it comes to the classroom because that's a school board, school trustees function. Within the sanitation district, we have some authority, but the regional water and state water agencies, which are forcing this upon us, that's their jurisdiction, and they have the ability to put severe fines on us. So it's a matter of how we're trying to balance what other jurisdictions are forcing upon us versus what's our ability to fight it and or work with them to lower the mitigation factors that they're asking for. I mean, it's a nasty issue. I'm not going to lie to you. It's one that's not nice for our community. Right back to you?
Yeah, whatever.
And I'll find out about the gravel. My bet is it is part of that 14 project. It's almost similar to the top of the 5 freeway on the pass when we're going into San Fernando Valley. You'll see they're grinding up cement to reuse as aggregate, which for an environmental recycling issue is good for us and good for why we don't need CMEX, but it also is a blight. I mean, it looks horrible. So I'll find out, John. I don't know how long it's going to be there, or I haven't seen it. What's your name? I'm sorry.
My name's Alex McCadad. I'm the student trustee of the Santa Clarita Community College District.
Welcome.
Thank you. I had a question about how you think the high-speed rail project might affect the Canyon Country campus of COC. I know you talked about vibrations and noises from explosions disturbing local elementary schools. Do you think there will be any impact on the Canyon Country campus?
Just sort of the explosion issue was a CMEX issue. So that's the mining. The high-speed rail issue, it won't be as impacted as those residents that are down by Sulphur Springs Elementary and Pinecrest School and the residents in Sand Canyon area. It's going to be significant. Now, that being said, we're all canyons. Okay, so when I lived up at the top of Saugus, past Saugus High School, when I opened my windows at night, I clearly heard the Saugus Speedway at night. I mean, it was like at 2 a.m. every day when it's calm and the freight train goes through by my house, I clearly hear the whistle and hear it. So to say there's not going to be an impact, now this is why we're concerned. They're telling us that it's going to be an average of 12 trains an hour. That's a train every 5 minutes. Yep. So... And
at 200 miles an hour.
At 200 miles an hour. I see Sue back there. Mike Hogan, I mean, it was one of our trustees for the Sulphur Springs bought a PA system. And he had in the background what they said was a high-speed, even they admitted it's a high-speed train. They didn't know the decibel level. But, I mean, I had him to close the door because it was annoying me. And it was loud. I mean, I'm like, there's no way as a teacher I want to hear this. It's sort of like Sun Valley Middle School. I used to go down there all the time, and I don't know how, or St. Bernard's High School down in LAX, I don't know how they teach with the planes going off. I mean, literally, it's like every 2 minutes, there's a plane 30 feet above your head, and I'm like, how do they do this? So to say there's not going to be impact, no. There's going to be impact if we don't mitigate it. Hi.
Hi. Following up on high-speed rail, I was at that meeting. It was very interesting. What was scary was how loud even a Metrolink was at that same meeting. But what I was going to ask about, is there an ETA on when those 2 letters are going to be going out, and how long is our opportunity in order to give feedback?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think it was 90. Didn't the EIR come out and you have 90 days to respond? I think it was a 90-day issue. I don't know if someone can help me, but I want to say it was the EIR had gotten put out. Mm-hmm. Or the draft, the draft EIR. It wasn't the real EIR. Oh. So draft EIR went. They're looking at comments. I mean, basically, those 4 guys, or the women, they're getting beaten up every night across the state. So it's Santa Clarita times 100. So it's a matter of how loud. And I spoke to the director. I said, look, before you dismiss us, please, please, please do your homework and look to Ellesmere Canyon and look to CMEX. Right. I said, this is not your normal community. When they get ticked off about something, it is a whole different level of ticked off. This isn't your normal community. Look to Ellesmere, look to CMEX, and take it seriously, because if you're meeting deadlines and meeting what you want to get done, I said it's better to work with us to mitigate, because the fight could just shut you down. Yeah. And they said, well, we appreciate that. So hopefully they went and looked, because...
Yeah. So how long till those letters are going out?
I know they're being worked on right now, but I know they'll be done timely, and they'll be done where they'll have an impact. I'll find out. I don't know, because it just happened like 2 weeks ago.
How fast does our city... No, I mean, I know you're all busy, but... You know,
yeah.
Okay.
One more back here.
Sure.
Mayor Ferry, R.J. Kelly.
What's up?
How you doing today?
Good.
Just a couple of comments. Number one, I think because of the success of this advisory committee, we went out and we started a merchants association dealing with our local businesses in Canyon Country and the various problems that they've had. And just a quick comment, the city did come to one of our meetings. They discussed a $30 million budget for Canyon Country only, which included some off-ramp beautifications, but also discussed Jake's Way and how they will be adding additional officers to Jake's Way. Although at this time they don't have any plans for a substation, but maybe you can help influence that. And I think just basically exiting on that, I'd like permission to add you to our email list on our minutes so you can be abreast of what's happening from the Merchants Association, as you obviously should be here, and we'd love to have you at one of our future meetings, which is the second Thursday of every month at Route 66.
Thank you.
I want to really thank you for being here. I think it's great to see the mayor on this side of town, and really to make sure that the city is paying attention to what we referred to as a redheaded stepchild of the city. Yeah. So I hope that improves. Thank you.
Thank you.
Frank, is there any way that we could get back to having our meetings at the sports complex, nice, cool, air-conditioned sports complex like we used to have?
You know, I know I know it feels personal. I know for Al it feels personal to this group. The answer is maybe. The issue came that many groups want to use city facilities, the activity center, the library, etc. And it came down to the issue of the costs that were incurred for those. And so an equity issue came up where what's it going to be charged for one group versus another group. Definitely it's something that we need to look at. I know it feels personal to you guys. It wasn't. But and the cost to have your meetings, how much was it, Al, for each meeting it was going to be for cost recovery for maintenance or whatever it was going to be? What was the cost?
More than just a cost recovery for the meeting, because the meeting was $40 an hour for the cost recovery, but it also entailed an insurance policy. And it also entailed that you had to not only provide the money, but the insurance policy for the whole year when you initiated and for a group that collects no money.
Right.
That's a big issue. The insurance policy probably was a bigger issue than that.
Right. And the issue with that is, I mean, I'm sure none of you would sue, but we have attorneys where all they would say is someone's going to sue. So it's an issue of an umbrella policy, I'm sure, where any group, Canyon Country Advisory Group, a church group, a Indian Guides group, a Boy Scout, whatever the group is, they'd all have to provide an umbrella policy because either through neglect, liability, whatever, the city needs to be covered as well as the group. And so I'm sure that became a litigation liability issue. But we could always look at it, but I'm sure it became exactly what Al's saying, what our attorney said. So. Yes, how are you?
I have two follow-up questions.
Sure.
The CMEX mine.
Uh-huh.
Is there any way that the council and the people here in Santa Clarita can send letters to either Senator Boxer or even to Buck McCann to please help this, because he hasn't done anything except give lip service at this point? Also, there's also a grassroots organization that's starting up now to collect 850,000 signatures to stop the rail, the high-speed rail.
I know, to your last question, I know Councilman Keller, his point at the high-speed rail meeting, he was adamant. He said, look, you came to the voters saying it was going to be, I think it was 49 million. It was a 9 at the end, but the project was going to be, no, it was billion, wasn't it? Yeah, it was like 49 billion. It got approved. Now you're coming to us and saying it's going to be 90 billion and you're going to cut it back to 65. So his point is, bring it back to the voters if it's going to be almost doubled. So obviously if the proposition goes through, people will be able, it's sort of like medical marijuana. They sold it as individuals have cancer and nobody wants that. But what ended up being for me is every 18-year-old can get a license in 2 minutes without just saying they have a pain in their back, and all of a sudden people are getting marijuana because they have a headache. So the intent they sold to us and what it ended up is not the same. The second one is Senator Boxer, and I'm going to say this. I mean, there's a few people in the room. I'm a Republican's Republican. I mean, I was at the Republican National Convention and worked in Dallas and New Orleans. I worked at the Republican National Committee back east. But this is a nonpartisan office. So for me, it's about what's best for the community. Senator Boxer's been outstanding on the CMEX issue. I can only give her credit and credibility for everything we've received and have done so far. I am not happy with the fact that the GOP, I guess in fairness, I've been doing this 15 years. I know Eileen's looking at me. She's like, what are you going to say? I've become cynical of partisan politics. I look at the state and I see we are so screwed up and it is so messed up, and both sides are to blame. So whether you're Democrat or Republican, we're all to blame, because it's all about maintaining power or taking power back. And so I can't tell you how many times I go to an elected official in Sacramento and they're just blunt with me. I can't give this Republican this education issue because Democrats have education as their issue, and we're not going to give a Republican that issue. And it's all about pushing people down or trying to attack them to get. So our state's screwed up. I mean, we're at a point where it's like, get rid of all Republicans and Democrats, give me just one party, call it whatever you want, one party only, everybody runs, and you have to do what's best for the community, the state. Well, unfortunately, I feel that way now a lot with our federal government. I just feel like it's about, and you got to understand, when I was a kid, and I know most of you look at me right now and think, you're still a kid, so shut up. When I was 18 through 30, I mean, I was Cameron Smith. I'm going to be a state assemblyman. I'm going to go to Congress. I had dreams like that. You couldn't pay me right now to leave state government. I love city government. I love the fact it's nonpartisan. I love the fact that there's 5 individuals. You need 3 votes to do what's best for your community. And everyone in federal government and the state government lost sight of that. And so it's frustrating for me. Should you send letters to your federal elected officials? Yes. Why haven't the middle do more? Because when you're in leadership in Congress, you're going to follow what your party says to do. And if the party says there's going to be no add-ons, or what's the word I'm looking for, Eileen? Earmarks. If there's going to be 0 earmarks because we told the American public we're not going to have pork, we're not going to put out projects out there because we're trying to have a balanced budget, I guess in one aspect you have to respect that because they're staying true to what they said they were going to do and they're following through. So I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question. I mean, I'm a little frustrated like you, and I'm trying to be as political as I can and not throw anyone under the bus, but no.
Frank, I talked to you about White's Canyon before.
Yes.
You went up there.
Yes.
Can you explain to these people why we cannot get a median strip in them 4 blocks?
Right. In Santa Clarita, we have something called landscape maintenance districts. They're called LMDs. My HOA where I live, I used to live up in Saugus. I now live behind Granary Square off McBean. I pay $33 a month. For that $33, there's a core of, let's say there's 5,000 homes. I don't think it's that many. I think it's 3,300 homes. There's 3,000 homes. Those 3,000 homes, based on my HOA fee, which a portion's paid to, you have contractors that come out, hired by the city, that do all the mowing, all the raking, all the sprinkler repair along McBean, along my street, John Russell, all the bridge repair along our paseos. So basically, the LMD district pays for the community at large in our district. And last year we had a big LMD election to pay for different areas. White's Canyon specifically, and how many years ago was it? Was it 6 years ago, 8 years ago? We went to the voters in White's Canyon corridor to see if they would vote for an LMD. And they voted no. And so that community said that they didn't want that amenity, and they didn't want. Now, the reason why LMDs are important is because they become in disrepair. If you go to anywhere in the city of LA or communities, and you'll see the sidewalks where the trees are taking them out, you'll see the middle section where weeds everywhere, and it looks horrible. Well, the idea is that you're paying into a pool of money to maintain something in perpetuity based on the community that sustained it. And so that community said they did not want it, and they voted against it. I think if it was brought back and we educated the community better and the neighborhood, they may see that it's an advantage and they may want it. So but that's why there's not one in White's Canyon.
What's the possibility to do with
Oh, it's definitely a possibility. I mean, I wish someone was here that knows better.
Well, Frank, during that time when the Whites Canyon LMD was brought up,
yeah,
a great deal of the problem was the lack of a clear definition of what the LMD was going to do. We talked about side panels for a while. We talked about medians for a while. We talked about how big the LMD was going to be, how far it was going to reach. The district in size got changed 3 times during the course of the campaign for the election. So I think from that standpoint, it probably doesn't, it's not only the education of the property owners, but we need to have a good, solid plan. In the meantime, since that occurred, half of the hill going up Whites Canyon has been taken over by another LMD. So it now would be divided into the lower section and the extreme upper section. And what we really need is a good definition of what the city intends to do. And I think we could build a lot more confidence in the community.
That's fair. And we also, I think that the advantage we have too is from a decade ago, I think we have success of 10 years, what other communities look like now versus before with LMD districts. And so I think if we do what Al said, where we actually educate the residents better to what an LMD definition is and what their money's going to pay for, it could be approved in Whites Canyon. I'll follow up and find out. I don't know if the city puts it on or that there has to be a petition from the voters. I don't know if anyone knows. I'll find out. Say anything?
Second word.
How are you?
Okay, fine. I have a thing that I've seen with the scenery and stuff that you have dividing up these highways going down Soledad and up these places, all this shrubbery, making it so it's one way in between. The fire trucks, have you ever come down or have them come towards you when the lanes are all filled up, like on Soledad Canyon, for instance?
Yes.
Okay, they can't get around, so they go around and they come up, and they're coming toward, the traffic is coming toward them when they're going down.
Right.
It's very dangerous. There are cities that have it so that at the stoplights, that the fire trucks, when they're within a certain distance, they have a little gadget. They can turn all 4 ways of the red lights red, so that they can go through and have all traffic stopped. And this way they can get through. And this is something that we should work for. And I understand from these cities that I've talked to in some other places, this has worked wonders. And that has been really a good safety issue. And we should consider something like this, because the fire trucks or the policemen, when they're coming down, they're really taking their life in hands as well as, but with the light that's bringing, you can't always hear them coming because of the wind. I know my daughter-in-law and we were in a car and we didn't even hear them. And the other people, they started to go across, and the fire truck was coming down, and we all screeched out in the middle of the street because we couldn't hear it because of the wind was blowing the siren a different way. So these are the things we should consider, getting these little things that they can click and turn all 4
I think it's like a
ways red.
strobe that's on top of their, I think it's actually, they don't click it. I think there's a strobe on top of the thing, and I think it's an outstanding idea. I actually met with Chief Nickham today, and it's something I can bring up to him and see if it's viable. Because we're looking at, you might notice we have cameras now and a lot of things to interconnect our intersections during peak hours. So let me see, maybe it's something we can do.
I'd like to piggyback on something that Al mentioned as far as the Whites Canyon corridor. They did, in fact, the first time, say that those of us that are south of Stillmore would be included. Now? Okay. Sorry. They did, in fact, tell us that who live south of Stillmore that we were included, and then they told us that we were not. And I asked why, and they said that because there was no nexus, that we would not derive a benefit from Whites Canyon being landscaped.
Right.
The only way to get into our tract is from Stillmore or from Crossglade. So we would, in fact, benefit, and I don't understand why we can't
Well,
be
whenever
included.
you hear the word nexus, there was attorneys that got paid to look at it to see future lawsuits.
Well,
Trust
they
me,
left-
anytime in city government you hear the word nexus, there were attorneys involved.
They left out a huge swath of homes that would have perhaps, in fact, tipped that scale.
Well, I'm going to look at it because it'd be beautiful for the White Canyon corridor.
Absolutely.
I'm going to ask Stephanie. I know Stephanie knows way more about strobes and intersection lights than I do.
Hi, Stephanie English from LA County Fire Department. I'm the liaison to the Assistant Chief, Bill Nickham. And very good question. And in fact, we are in early discussions with the city to possibly install some of those mechanisms in a couple key places. So we'll see, how that pans out, what the cost is, and whose responsibility and so forth. But it's a great idea and a great question. Just wanted to give you that quick update.
Can you do me a favor and give her credit, and she gets to ride the fire truck the first day.
You got it.
She gets to push the switch the first day it's going fast through.
You got it. We'll make that happen.
Perfect. I want to see you on the hook and ladder and the back thing, steering. Yep. Well, I want to thank you guys. I really enjoyed. Anytime you want me back, I'd be more than happy to come back. I really enjoyed this evening.
Thank you, Frank.